Arts Council. Angela lives, our Illinois State Poet Laureate, Angela Jackson. Angela, take it away.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I'm going to begin with the first poem I wrote as Poet Laureate of Illinois. Giving Thanks, Illinois 2020. We give thanks for red cardinals that appear anywhere, for violets pristine and tender, and tall white oaks that bear the weight of Midwestern winds moving across the prairie state. Thanks for the kiss of the Great Lake, Michigan, on a big Chicago, bodacious and bursting with promises. Thanks for the lakes and rivers that run through a state of dreams and blood and tears. Thin rivers of toil that lace the land, and a big river, Mississippi, that runs. Thanks for mid-cities churning industry, for rural places poised on tractors and way stations, people with all kinds of people, all colors are one in the land of Lincoln, lifting freedom, union, yes. We pray for each other in all our heartbreaks. We give thanks for hope, for family, for dear ones and neighbors, for I love you written on the red wings of cardinals, on the sweet petals of violets, on the strong brown branches of oaks. We give thanks, thanks, and thanks. Of course, that poem was written in the heart of the pandemic. And we give thanks that it is easing up. Why do I do what I do? Why I must make language. For a voice like a star, shining with points to pierce space and be simple, superb clarity, incandescent, something a child might carry down the black hall to make peace with mystery, or woman into a wooded place where she may see the shapes and names of trees. Anonymous awe be called glory, or man might seek in the cave of a woman and see the writing on the wall and find some luminosity. Ancestors may descend on streams of light, or all look up and listen deep into the night, the wild and civilized sky. I'm going to read some poems because they help me remember. It's important to remember. Strolling. Some places you could die in if you could just go on living there. The boy, his legs bare and small, swinging in the stroller, sockless, suede shoed feet touching the runner. He can walk, but the woman keeps him from running into the street. He won't obey, but listens to everything we say. Head tilted, face changing with the conversation. Green leaves leap through fences. Cars wait while we cross, and each bird the boy greets with its name. Bird flies away. The sky holds everything. The woman pushes her son's son along, her arms strong enough to hold 9 strong horses prancing. She's given her money away because someone had to bury a child. That is the worst thing, a mother burying her child. I would never do that to her, even though it means what it means. 1,000 years from now, when I am only a dream, I will dream this dream of strolling. Perhaps I am doing so now. I wrote this poem in 1975. I remember I was over my parents' house writing a paper for school, and I decided to take a break and looked out the window and saw my mother working in my father's garden. Anyway, and how my mother does work in my father's garden. This afternoon, without wind, of September in heat, the monkey cigar tree, once struck by lightning, grows anyway, and how its roots have begun again to be at an awkward height. And this afternoon of lazy sun bloomed in heat, the tree bends and touches the greens and squash in my father's garden, begun from brick and rocks. We thought the only thing that would grow in this city would be broken glass on vacant lot, and faith shoveled my father planted anyway, and how he set his task and grew his greens too close, like people in tenement rooms. And my cousin fixed the seeds that opened cramped yellow, transplanted them in sun and soil and air. Her hands are whiskey and kindness like herself. My father's garden grew. He never knew my cousin sharing her healing care. Now, ready for evening, my mother does work in my father's garden. The monkey cigar tree, my brother smokes, stalk things that grew from it, pump magic in their heads once, grows again and bends and touches the greens, the squash, the beans. And my mother bends and touches like tree shadow. Her orange dress signals sun to set. My father's planting sprawls thick-limbed and sound. Tomorrow, some stranger will pass and ask, how did he break this unfriendly ground? Now I'm going to read a poem from my notebook, More Than Meat and Raiment. It too is a remembering poem. Summer and the City. Summer nights cool came down, blotting heat like a kiss for colored children. Heat surged as we danced jagged up and down the street, played hide and seek. Last night, night before, 24 robbers at my door. I got up, let them in, hit them in the head with a rolling pin. Oh, hit among the leaves of church hedges, we smell something slow and splendid in our sweat. Our fathers we knew worked good jobs that required muscle. Our mothers in day work used elbow grease and unwritten receipts for smothered chicken and gravy caused white women to envy and delight. Outside, mothers waited for aid checks and the long gone man. Large women on folding chairs ate chunks of Argo starch. Lean days, sugar sandwiches, ketchup or mayonnaise, missing meat, a vague notion, love, manna. Twilight blessed the blocks, poured from a dark man's mouth like a spout of Joe Louis milk, our champion toast, heralding the greatest arrival, however long the getting there. Slow rocking grandmothers spit out words into small cans held in their hands, their eyes trained on us from deep South porches we never left behind, never left us even after Exodus. Mouths wide open, we drank the evening's pleasure. Men, women who loved us more than what we could have known. We were their quick, flashing hope treasures, the memory of us, their milk, their honey. I had a cousin who wore red dresses before it was the fashion. And she wore those red dresses above the knee. And she wore wigs and a lot of lipstick. And her name was Willie Mae, choosing the blues. When Willie Mae went down to the barber shop to visit her boyfriend who cut hair there, I went with her, walking beside her on the street. The men said, hey, and stopped to watch her just walk. Boyfriend barber cut hair and cut his glance at her. Oh, he could see the tree for the forest. He pressed down the wild crest on a man's head and shaved it off just so he could watch her standing there by the jukebox, choosing the blues she would wear for the afternoon. Right there, little Milton would shoot through the storefront with the peppermint stick sentry twirling outside. If I didn't love you, baby, grits ain't grocery, eggs ain't poultry, and Mona Lisa was a man. And every razor and mouth would stop its dissembling business, and time sit down in the barber's chair and tell memory poised with its scissors in hand not to cut it too short, just take a little off the ends. One day I heard a voice like my grandmother's, but it wasn't my grandmother's voice. It was a character who introduced herself to me. Her name was Miss Sheba Williams, as told to this reporter from the community news front. I used to live by the window, barely lifting the blinds after Mr. Williams died and our children grown, moved away from home and up around where the white folks stay. I could bend my elbows in my kitchen at last, stretch my legs in bed, plenty of room to breathe on my own, but even my throat closed up. There was murder outside my door and no use for age. Too many twisted in a twisting rage, or praying they way into designer jeans so they can wear somebody else's name on their behind, a brand name. My mama told me enough about the days of wearing somebody else's name. I stayed behind my blinds so nobody could see up and hear my 19-inch screen TV my daughter brought me. My stereo, my son say, now I can hear Amazing Grace, the instrument so sensitive, you can hear an angel clear her throat in the background while Aretha lead the seraphim and cherubim on through it. Row by row, they lined up below my window, smoking them funny cigarettes or just plain old cools. They talk a lot about the weather, freezing in it, about war, dying in it, about women getting in it, about money grabbing hold of it. How would I know ever which one of them stole my Social Security check? Not that nice one who carried my grocery bags and picked me up off the ice and took me home and called my children, and the ambulance didn't come for a long time. After all that, he wouldn't take a thank you dime from me. He reminded me of someone. No, I would not go to live in children's homes. I couldn't leave Mr. Williams' memory alone. He was the one made me open my window and holler down at him one shiny day. I say, come on up here and taste these greens. Put some pep in your step, I mean. Here he come in my doorway, looking like Mr. Williams, my own. He's 17, smart and lean. I'm 80. He called me lady. I pray I die long before he do, and he use what I give him in my aged days. He begged for my secrets, Miss Williams. Why you want to take your knowledge and hide? I used to live by the window. Now I live outside. That ain't such a big story, darling, but believe you me, it's history. And an actual historical figure. Oh no. That we may have been seeing, they've been doing a lot of television specials on this event. A 1,000 pages. When they came for him, they came with flashlight in one hand, gun in the other, rousing the city boy from innocent sleep. Awake, he was guilty of a whistle, a touch in the palm of a white woman's hand, they charged. He was 14 and he was fresh as clean laundry. His mother considered the ruins of her once beautiful son, the hanging eye, the missing other, the tongue cut out and hanging, the private's pride off, the head hacked front from back. How articulate was this wrecked flesh? The remains of her boy, once beautiful, then ruined. She left the casket open. People waited in a line that curved around the corners of heartbreak. Just one glance and men shivered, women fainted. 1,000 pages turned, a new place for the race that had seen enough carnage of color, cocky or quiet. And that was in 1955. Also in 55, Miss Rosa rides the bus. That day in December, I sat down by Miss Muffet of Montgomery. I was myriad weary, feet slow from sewing seams on a filthy fabric, tired sore of peddling the rusty singer, dingy cotton thread jammed in the eye. All life long, I'd slide through century rings, loathsome with tears, dreaming my own silk self. It was not like they all say, Miss Liberty Muffet, she didn't jump at the sight of me, not exactly. They hauled me away, 1,000 kicking legs pinned down. The rest of me, I tell you, a cloud, beautiful trouble on the dead December horizon, come to sit in judgment. How many miles as the Jim Crow flies over oceans, and some I rumble. They couldn't hold me down long, no. My feet were tired, my eyes were sore, my heart was raw from hemming dirty edges of Miss L. Muffet's garment. I rode again, 1,000 bloody miles after the crow flies. That day in December, long remembered, when I sat down beside Miss Muffet of Montgomery, I said, like the jokes say, what's in the bowl, thief? I said, that's your curse. I said, this my way. She slipped her frock, disembarked, settled in the suburbs, deaf, mute, lewd, and blind. The bowl she left behind, the empty bowl, mine, the spoiled dress. Jim Crow dies and ravens come with crumbs. They say, eat and be satisfied. I fast and pray and ride. That poem was selected as 10 poems to represent the civil rights movement. I just happened upon it on the internet. I didn't even know it was in there. Oh. This is a poem I never read. There's so much war going on, that war in Africa, war in Europe, verbal wars in these United States, and sometimes physical. Festival. You have heard the impassioned question of pacifists. What if they gave a war and nobody came? This query's distress, a whisper inverted and the same. What if you gave a love and nobody came? The love of travelers. Illinois is a long state. When you go from Illinois to Mississippi, you know, it takes a while. All the other states go by quickly, Arkansas, Tennessee, but Illinois takes a long time to pass through. The love of travelers. At the rest stop on the way to Mississippi, we found the butterfly mired in the oil slick, its wings thick and blunted, one of us tender in the fingertips, smooth with a tissue, the oil that came off only a little. The oil smeared wings like lips colored with lipstick, blotted before a kiss. So delicate, the cleansing of the wings, I thought the color soft as watercolors would wash off under the method of her mercy for something so slight and graceful, injured beyond the love of travelers. It was torn then, even after her kindest work, the almost moth, exquisite charity could not mend what weighted the wing, melded with it, then ruptured it in release. The body of the thing lifted out of its place between the washed wings. Imagine the agony of a self separated by gentlest repair. Should we kill it? One of us said, and I said, yes, but none of us had the nerve. We walked away, the last of the oil welding the butterfly to the wood of the picnic table. The wings stuck out and quivered when wind went by. Whoever found it must have marveled at this and loved it for what it was and had been. I think meticulous mercy is the work of travelers, and leaving things as they are, punishment or reward. I have died for the smallest things, nothing washes off. The mother behaves like a young woman with a lover when Nat King Cole comes on the box. She takes off her run-over shoes. She removes her rerun stockings. She unzips her re-hemmed skirt. She parts with her polyester blouse. She lies down on the sagging couch. Husband and children hide in the living room dark. The television glow slides over her slip like moonlight. Nat King Cole's glossed hair glistens like an onyx. His voice shines in her eyes. She closes them. His song ends on the edges of her Mona Lisa smile. Midnight sighs over the silence of sleeping children. She sleeps on and on the sagging couch until her husband invites her to his bed, his voice newly tender, newly televised. Just about 3 more. Hot fun in the summertime. 3 in college at once. Our parties in summer brought out the best of us citywide. The windows open to a breeze we found to cool our sweat in the hothouse where afros bloomed. We were the rage. We danced vocabulary of intelligent toughness, 151 rum punch, not for punks or babies who hung around the knees of the dining room table, dancing with the chaperones. Mama showed us how to make a feast for dreamers and rappers when rapping and the rap were love offerings or wise, smooth parts of speech, parting the waters of white foam flooded minds. But these nights we were all Black. My father danced the Uncle Willie, turning his feet in, then splaying them out country. And I wish he would again. Nobody thought it strange the way we loved ourselves. And for National Poetry Month, the poem in the pocket. It's for my niece, Serene, folks. I have so many beautiful nieces, one more beautiful than the other. So it's like a circle. This one beautiful, this one beautiful, this one beautiful. And handsome nephews. The poem in the pocket. My younger sister loved a gifted young poet who was my friend. They made a daughter 7 months before he died at 25. I wrote a poem about these lovely and sad events. One bright day, 3 or 4 years later, I rushed home from reading poetry and placed a folder full of my poems on a chair while I performed a chore. My 4 nieces, toddlers, or not much more in age, that daughter among them fell upon the poems and threw them about like miraculous white leaves all over the floor. I returned, chastising the mischievous girls. I gathered up the poems, all but one I could not find. I made the gifted poet's daughter, clutching her pocket, let me see what was inside. There, I found the poem about her father, carefully folded and hidden in her pocket. She, who could not yet make sense of alphabet, I knew there was a poet in this event. It was not me. And finally, now my role model was the great poet Gwendolyn Brooks, who was Poet Laureate of Illinois for over 30 years. But I had significant teachers who were poets, the Indiana poet Mari Evans, and the poet Margaret Walker, who wrote the classic poem For My People in 1942. I knew when I heard Margaret Walker read For My People in the classroom that one day I would write something about that poem. And now it took me decades and decades and decades to write For Our People. Finally, I wrote it in about 2018 or 2017. For our people everywhere singing their gospels and their rap, their blues, R&B and their jazz, their soul and their neo soul, all great Black music, scuffling, scrimping, struggling to get by. For our people working as wage slaves in collars, blue, white, and pink, doing the best they can with what they have, hoping it will not be taken away with a pink slip, a sudden slip from a parapet on cement into disability or welfare or not, hustling to keep from being crushed on the unemployment line. For our people, for the way of years sipping summer from a tall glass of ice water, buttermilk and cornbread out of a mayonnaise jar, years testing watermelon, cutting a plug of sweetness, knocking on the round or oblong to listen to the taste, for the excellence of young boys running like they stole something, but only owing themselves and the strength in their legs, and girls who could keep up before breasts held them back. For our people and red Kool-Aid days, for smothered chicken and our cries smothered in a world that did not adore us, but ignored us, or worse, and ran us back on the other side of the viaduct where we belong, not in the wild world we could conquer or excel in, giving the gates opening and tools for redress. For our people everywhere, growing gardens on vacant lots, training roses and black-eyed Susans and perennials in front yards, raking leaves and shuffling snow, scooping dew and picking up litter, washing and ironing out the wrinkles of everyday existence. For our people, running with nowhere to go, watching television and movies, looking for ourselves, searching books and the nooks and crannies of history for a glimpse of what was waylaid and what is to be, in barbershops and beauty parlors and ice cream parlors and the stone faces in funeral parlors, picking up children from school, from daycare, taking them to football, soccer, baseball, tennis, basketball, volleyball, having a ball, at family reunions on Saturday nights. For our people who came in chains, tortured over turbulent waves, broken-hearted and broken tongue and broken magic, broken bloodlines, strangled and whipped, distraught and driven to the edge of the mind and beyond. For our people leaping to the sea, feeding sharks and myths and cautionary tales, surviving the journey to reach auction blocks, a prurient pedestal for deposed queens and chieftains, villagers humiliated, abused, raped, and riddled with misery into exquisite survivals, changing vocabulary and clothes, changing into sleek panthers and superheroes, making the world safe for demonstrations of protest and affection, all beauty and love, scapegoated, pilloried, denied the excellence we bring. For our people, grasping for gadgets and genuflecting to electric celebrity, worshiping trinkets and noisome symbols that blink and itch the eyes, gaming and gambling and laughing to keep from crying and crying, laughing, cracking up and falling out, drinking suicide and spilling milk and blood, gunned down under lampposts, in playgrounds, blooding in drive-bys, in alleys, in living rooms, in bed, sleeping. For our people, bludgeoned by police and each other, killed by presumptuous watchers, taxed for Black and driving while Black, shot in the back, falsely convicted, sentenced to dwell alone and want to be redeemed, incarcerated in stone, trapped in department stores, harassed, stalked in malls, and all the places people spend and sell. Our people selling loose squares, oil, socks, and peanuts on the corners of our desperate longing for hair, for nails, for body graffiti. For our people in the casinos scheming in pennies from heaven with one-armed pirates dreaming in die and cards and dealers dreaming numbers and playing them till they hit. For our people drowning in spirits, burning throats and pockets, losing it all, spoiling livers, lungs, and kidneys, hearts with too much, each of us addicted to drugs of fashion, to ancient hurt, choosing crabs in a barrel or lifting as we climb, each one, teach one. For our people who do not belong to me, but to all of us, for we belong to each other, must hold each other in heart and mind. For our people in the citadels of learning, in the one-room schoolhouse, in the storefronts of funeral parlor, fans, and the cathedrals of painted windows and arched ceilings that lend toward sky. For our people in the baptismal pool, in white robes, on the edge of the river, for our people chanting and praying and hoping for sweeter brew to sip and savor. Let a new earth arise, let justice pour like trembling rain, and mercy prevail as plentiful fields. Let our strength be matched by vulnerable honesty of heart. May resilience be our guide, for we will stumble and then will rise, more able having fallen, more beautiful having met each other along the way as we lifted each other up. Hero people who go out of their way for love and stay on the way of goodness. Let our people be the people who remember and believe that love is all our portions, all our currencies, and all our one, each of us injured or exalted, betrayer or betrayed, muted and declamatory, all one, each of us, all of us, each a private star beloved in the universe, each of us creature of burdens and singing angel merged as one, alive and moving upward, holding on and lifting this earth, our house, precious and precarious, and God be our witness between this gravity and this grace. Hold tight and fly. And as I was closing off reading that, I was thinking, when I was describing it's a singing angel or a bird, I was thinking of my newest angel, my sister-in-law, Leslie Carter Jackson, who was such a remarkable and wonderful person. And we just celebrated her life. That's Laura's mother. And it was a life worth celebrating. And I should hope that all of us would want our lives to be worth celebrating. And as poets, we get to celebrate our own lives and other people's lives. Yes. Life itself, we get to celebrate life itself. And we get to speak out and tell the truth. But you know, as poet laureate, there's stuff that I can't read as poet laureate. I can bear witness and tell the truth about things, but you know, I'm prohibited.
Angela, thank you so much. That was beautiful.